Thanks for tuning into the 6Three podcast. I'm your host, Joel, co-hosts Isaiah and Ben. Welcome back. Again, we're kind of at a shortage of conversation, but we have come up with some ideas. So first things first, let's share my screen and we'll go through this NFL standings and we'll kind of decide if these teams are going to be better or worse than last year. And then we'll go through awards, and then we'll make our AFC and NFC championship predictions. So this would be what we call our way too early 2021 NFL season predictions.
Correct. Way too early.
It's like, yeah.
Incredibly early.
No one else is doing it this early. We have that going for us.
The Bucks are still intoxicated from their parade early.
They might be on a perma high or something, or a perma drunk for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll start here with the NFC West, since that's the first one that came up. Seattle Seahawks won the division, but the Rams did better than them.
They did.
Now the Rams have Matthew Stafford.
Mm-hmm.
What's this battle coming down to in the NFC West? Let's just start at the top. Seattle Seahawks, are they going to be better or worse than 12-4?
I think they're going to be worse. Yeah. I think they played like a worse team late in the year anyway. I think they were kind of running through the beginning of their schedule, played really well. Russell Wilson was obviously playing at an MVP level at the beginning of the year, and then some teams kind of figured him out. They got banged up a little bit too, but some teams figured out how to beat them. And I just think the division as a whole is going to be better. We'll talk about it in a minute, but I mean the Rams are going to be improved. I think the Cardinals are actually going to be better too. And the 49ers should be better too, because they're going to be healthier, and that was their big downfall.
And yay, the NFC North gets to play this division this year.
Yes, they do. Yeah, they do. But I think this could be one of the better divisions overall, like top to bottom in football. But I think the Seahawks, I'm not seeing where they're going to like get that much better at either. Like I see them more towards that 10-6, 9-7 range next year.
Yeah, I agree. I think one of the most apparent factors with that is that like they were really good at the beginning of the year, and they were letting like Russell kind of take over the offense, and then by the end of the year they had gone back to kind of that like typical Seattle, try to ground it out on defense, run the ball, and set up the pass. And even at the end of the season, I don't know if it was Pete Carroll or the offensive coordinator said, yeah, next year our identity needs to be running and defense. And it's like, oh, well, that was the second half of your season and you guys were not good. So I agree. I don't think they're going to be much better. I'd kind of say that 10-6 range, just because San Francisco gets better, LA Rams got better. So in your division, you got to take some hits. Someone has to.
I'm actually going to say 7-9, 8-8 for them. And I think they go from first to worst in the division. And my reason behind it is obviously I'm very high on DK Metcalf is a showstopper, and Russell Wilson's still like a top 4 quarterback probably in the NFL. And I just think with the lack of consistency this past year with their run game, I don't anticipate Chris Carson being back to the Chris Carson he was. He might have been just like a 2-year wonder. DJ Dallas is still a late-round guy, and I think they're going to have to do running back by committee. I don't think their running back by committee is anything special. Their offensive line needs a lot of patchwork, and I don't think even their work in the draft or free agency with the financial situation is going to be enough to get them back in their spot.
They never do anything in the draft anyway.
Yeah, and they're just too far from the Legion of Boom. It's just not there.
Yeah, they were just so poor on defense this year. I mean,
they're just their safeties. They just have safeties.
They gave up the second most points. Well, let's see. Yeah, in the league, right? Or not in the league, in their division.
371. That's just barely second most, but
yeah, but the
49ers aren't going to.
The 49ers gave up the most, but that's like, I mean, they were terrible. So I mean, that's not putting it up there. And the Seahawks were essentially forced to try to play shootouts later in the game or later in the season. I just don't think they can do that, and I don't see where they're going to improve that much with the draft or or in free agency or anything like that. So I can see them going first to worst. I think they'll be a little bit better than that, just because I think Russell Wilson is going to win them some games by himself. But yeah, I could see it.
Well, let's kind of do this a little bit by division. But, like, what do you think is, like, the final standings of this division? Because if I look at this, I think actually the Rams will be now first. I think the 49ers will be second. Cardinals will stay at third. And I think the Seahawks I think they kind of close to battle it with Arizona for that fourth spot. But I think it's the 49ers are second. I think the Rams win.
So,
I'm gonna go the same. I'm just gonna flip around the Cardinals and the Seahawks. I just I don't see what it is about the Cardinals. I don't think Kyler Murray's the answer at quarterback there. I think he's dynamic in many ways, but also I just think his game's pretty limited. Just with how defenses plan for him. It's not really his fault. It's just I just think the longer he's one of those guys that just the longer he's in the league, the more people are going to figure him out.
I think he's going to turn to a Marcus Mariota, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah.
He'll start 3 or 4 years and then phase out.
So I'm going to say, I almost think take these same records. I know that never happens, but I could see the Rams going 12-4. I could see San Francisco going 10-6, maybe 11-5. Seahawks maybe 8. I would say 9-7, and then Cardinals. I could really see them going 6-10.
That's just a brutal division. I think they might beat each other up a little bit though too.
Well, the whole thing I could see all these teams being better, but that isn't going to necessarily reflect record wise. Just because if everybody's going to get other than the Seahawks, because I actually do think they're going to be pretty significantly worse.
Yeah.
Every other team I think actually could be better. I really do think the Cardinals could be better, but they might not go much better than 8-8, maybe even 7-9. That's how I look at it. But I do think that the Rams are poised now with a good quarterback and continuing to build upon that crazy good defense. I think they're kind of poised for a run here. So
yeah, as long as they're healthy, the Rams. It would be a disappointment if the Rams lost the division.
Yeah.
I know when the 49ers are healthy, they're an incredible team. They went to the Super Bowl last year. But the Rams have to be looking at a first place. First place.
Well, the 49ers, to me, don't scare anybody, though. They're just pretty well-coached, solid defensively, but they don't have anything that sits there and I'm like, oh, my gosh, we got to sit there and prepare for them. And I think Shanahan's going to be kind of figured out by next year.
That's a good point.
And I don't think Garoppolo is going out there and winning you football games necessarily. So
I almost wonder if they have to get another really good backup number 2. They have to be one of the best teams or have the best number 2 quarterback to at least kind of be there just in case Garoppolo does struggle or gets hurt again. They need to have that because they can't waste that defense another year. And unfortunately, the defense kind of they wasted themselves essentially with the injuries. But I think their strength and conditioning coach should be fired for sure.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
Let's go to the NFC South though. Obviously, they have the Super Bowl winner in there with Tampa Bay Bucks. I expect the Bucks to be much better. The Saints still not officially announced, probably anticipate Drew Brees to retire.
Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey hopefully back for a full season with the Panthers, and the Falcons just kind of have to decide what direction they need to get in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really wouldn't be that surprised if the Falcons got worse. We're bottom of the league. I know they're 4-12, but if they I don't think Matt Ryan's getting any better year to year. He's not going to improve his play. They definitely, it's hard with that team because they're so enticing because they have so much offensive explosive potential, but it just never manifests. So I definitely think the Saints will get a lot worse. I think they'll be under 10 wins for sure. If Breeze retires, I just if they're gonna stick it with Taysom and Jameis, I Jameis plus Jameis.
Just say Tamus. Just run with it. It works.
Tamus does not equal – both of them combined does not equal a good starting quarterback. Yeah. I just don't think Taysom Hill is the answer. And I love Jameis Winston because he's such a meme. But, he's not a starting quarterback. I just don't see it. So I think they're going to drop off quite a ways. It's still a good team. It's still Sean Payton's still a good coach. So I don't think they're going to be terrible. But – I would not be surprised if they had a losing record. So
I think the Saints window is kind of gone. and it's not necessarily just because of Drew Brees retiring. I mean, I think it's just kind of that time for them. That, last year was going to be the last year that they really had a shot, in my opinion. And Brees wrecking his ribs kind of ruined that. And I'm not quite sure that really the thing that really ruined that is Tom Brady going to the NFC. But I don't really anticipate. I mean, yeah, I would expect them to probably go somewhere, from first to maybe third place. I actually am higher on the Falcons than maybe some other teams or some other people, just because I think they might have that kind of the chance to kind of have one more good season out of this core group that are a little bit older. I really do. I think they were in a lot of close games this past year. I mean, obviously, they can still score points. If they can just shore up the defense enough, I think they're going to be in a lot of games. This could be a decent division, actually, just because Carolina, if they get McCaffrey back, I mean, that's an explosive offense, and they were better than a lot of people expected them anyway. They were in some tight games with some good football teams. And if they get McCaffrey back, that kind of opens some things up. And I think they're kind of trending in the right direction, at least. But I do think that the Bucs have kind of figured out their identity now. And I think, it took probably almost 12, 13 weeks for them to really figure out who they wanted to be and who they were. But I think they've kind of figured that out. And I don't think the Bucs are going to kind of, I mean, they could have like a record as bad as 12-4. But I still think they're going to be significantly better in the regular season overall. And I think they're probably going to – I could see them maybe not dominating per se this division, but they should pretty much be the cream of the crop there. Because I don't really anticipate much of a fall off from them unless, barring, a Tom Brady injury or something like that. So,
yeah. I'll quick say this before, and then Joel, you're sorry to interrupt you, but I have two mentalities with professional sports team. You're either competing for a championship and to win your division, or you're rebuilding.
Yeah.
Like that middle ground crap just bothers me. So when I look at the Saints, if Breeze retires, and I look at the Falcons, I'm just blow it up, dude. Just keep some key pieces, keep some young key pieces that are kind of that middle tier of age, and then just blow the rest of it up because you're just not competitive.
Well,
so
and
stop.
The biggest mistake a lot of teams make when so the Falcons, you got to remember, I mean, it wasn't that long ago they were in the Super Bowl, and we're up 28-3 in the Super Bowl. So they probably sit there. Ownership is sitting there going, "Oh my God, we have the same guys, and they're not that much older. It's not like they're all 40 years old, but it's hard, You got to kind of pull the trigger eventually on blowing the thing up. And that's the hardest thing to do in professional sports is when you've had a good run or when you've had, 2 or 3 years of really good competing teams and maybe even pushed almost all the way there. You always think that maybe that same core group can do it again for you. But I agree. You're kind of at the point after going 4-12 where it's hey, you got to kind of make a decision, kind of like Joel said. What direction do you want to go with this? Do you want to ride this out for one more year and see what happens? If you think that, getting a new coach in there and, maybe a few new faces in there can really turn this thing around, or is it time to just say, hey, it's time to start over? Hopefully build around some of the good guys, good core guys are here. I don't know. It's interesting. They're kind of at that crossroads now. They were probably at it last year, but they probably just didn't want to admit it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so. I think the Bucs run away with this division pretty handedly, actually, and I think they probably go 13-3, and then I still think the Saints go 9-7 and 10-6 with Jameis Will, and I think they kind of remind me now, without a quarterback or a reliable quarterback, of the San Francisco 49ers because they still have a defense. They still had one of the best defenses last year, and that's why I don't think it's quite to that point where they should blow it up. Maybe they feel like they can maybe rely on a defense to push another run in, and then maybe hope that Jameis get hot or something. I don't
know. So the thing with Jameis, it's you see glimpses where it's man, this guy might actually be pretty good. And then he throws 4 interceptions. So it's like you can't really write him off because it's like, man, maybe under Sean Payton, maybe with like a different kind of offense, maybe not just airing it out Bruce Arians style, maybe there's a chance. Maybe after eye surgery, you never maybe he can now. You never know.
If Jameis Winston was the day one starter and he threw for 5,000 yards, 35 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, I would not be that surprised.
I wouldn't either.
I would not be that surprised.
It's going to happen, though. I don't think.
But if he also threw for 3,000 yards and went 30-30 again, I would also not be surprised.
Correct.
All right, let's go to the NFC East, probably the worst division in recent history in NFL history.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say that maybe I don't know who is this division. I can't even come up with the team.
I mean, I still think like if you're looking at this from every team is healthy standpoint, the Cowboys are the clear favorite because like not having Dak Prescott accounts for a couple wins.
And the offensive line, that used to be one of the best.
And the offensive line, even though the offensive line is getting a little older, they need to start looking at getting some young pieces in there to learn from those older guys. But it's still the Cowboys' division to lose. Philly, I think, gets worse if Wentz is gone. I don't know how it's like. It's really hard to say like worse. I should say the same. Like they're 4-11.
I think they're 5-11 maybe. Yeah, with Jalen Hurts.
Yeah. I really wouldn't be surprised if the Cowboys got worse. I know Saquon Barkley will be
the Giants. Yeah, Giants.
Or the Giants. Yeah, sorry. I don't know. They're weird. And then the Washington football team. I love that team. Like that defense is awesome, but they just don't. They aren't. What are they doing on offense?
I won't love that team until they get a name. I can't. I just think it's so annoying. But they have to get a name, and then maybe I'll think about like rooting for the underdog.
Isn't the this is a side note, but I'm pretty sure the deadline for team names is coming up again.
Yeah, it is.
Like pretty quick.
I literally think they're going to roll with Washington football team. I think they're going to.
No, they cannot. I will not root for them or Taylor Heineke ever if they do this for 2 years.
Here's my thing. I could see this thing shaking out pretty similarly. I don't think they're all going to have losing records again. That's kind of hard to just happen. I mean, but this team, these teams are just not going to get that much better. Like they're all kind of caught, like Isaiah said, in that in the doldrums there in the middle, like where they're like, other than the Eagles, and they're just like a locker room and ownership disaster at the moment. But other than that, like they're all like kind of middling. They have some things that some redeeming qualities, I guess. Like the Giants, it's like, all right, they got Saquon. There's moments where that defense is pretty good. The Cowboys, yeah, Dak was lighting it up at the beginning of the year. Zeke's still there. Like they've got some weapons. The Washington football team, great defense, like Isaiah said. Taylor Heineke's a good story. He's not good. He's just a good story. I don't know. I actually think Washington is going to win this division, though. I think they're going to build around that defense. I think they'll get better on offense. I won't say great, but I think Ron Vera knows what he's doing. I like him as a coach, but they're probably going to win it at best, like if all things go perfect, like 9-7, maybe 8-8 again.
So
it's probably Washington at the top and Philadelphia at the bottom, and then you can fight for it in the middle again.
Yeah, in the middle, they're gonna. Now, I will say this though. I will preface it with this though: the Cowboys should win the division. I just have absolutely zero trust in them actually being able to do that. So.
True. I don't see on a list of bad teams, Cowboys are the least bad. Two things that I was looking up. So one, it looks like the Washington football team has till July to actually pick a name, the end of July. So they have time, but they said that it's a 12 to 18 month process as of last July. So they could go one more season without a name. Like it would not.
Hard. Just pick a name.
Yeah. And then, yeah. And
everything's offensive now. They're going to come up with a name and be like, wait a minute.
And then two, I'm going to make
that one guy.
Depending on how the season shakes out, I'm going to make a New Orleans custom jersey, and it's going to be number 27, and it's going to be Jameis Wilston.
Ooh.
Because Jameis is number 2 and Taysom is number 7. So
Jameis Wilston.
Jameis Wilston.
Do it.
See that?
Yeah. All right. NFC North for the last one in the NFC here, and we'll roll AFC. I mean, does it look like the Packers are running away with the division yet again? If Rodgers obviously sounds like he's staying and got over it.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
gonna.
I still think that the Vikings should be the second best team in the conference or the division. Like they really should be. I think the Bears will get worse. They had that like 5. They went like what were they 5-1 to start the season? Like that is not going to happen again, unless they make a major change. I know they're one of the favorites to get Carson Wentz, but unless they make some major changes, I see the Lions being better than them next year. Like I just think Chicago is a cluster. Yeah. That's that. Yeah.
So I think Green Bay runs away with it. I don't think it's all that close. I don't think it matters after that either. Like I just think all the other teams are just kind of beat each other up a little bit. The Lions, I think, are going to be last. And I don't want to be homery about it. I'm not making that pick because I don't want to be a homer. It's just I'm fine with them being last. I hope they're last. Personally, they're not going to make any kind of playoff push, and they're not. I don't want the Lions sitting there going 8-8. If they're going 8-8, that's like that again. You're stuck in the middle. So, I'm not saying tank, but
although the only positive about that is you know that this coaching staff has them in the right direction, and it's a huge jump from where they've been under Patricia for the previous 3 years.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. So if you're seeing improvement, I guess that's fine. But at the same time,
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
But they can't keep doing that. I think like one year
and
they
I think,
do it, but.
And I think the thing that, at least from what I've heard from ownership and like higher ups in the Lions, is that it's a 3-year like they're not going to fire anybody for 3 years, really. Like any of the major positions.
Unless you go 0-16 for 2 straight years.
Yeah, true. But like they're basically like saying, okay, you guys got 3 years, like you better be much better than 5-11 in 3 years.
It's actually absolutely incredible that they were minus 142 point differential in 1-5 games.
Right. I just think I think I would love the Lions to be very bad next year and then start to get better the next 2 years. Well, go terrible, get a nice quarterback in the draft, then start to go up.
I think there's a very good chance of them being very bad next year. So
I actually think they're going to be 1 game worse. I think they'll be 4-12, but I think that'll just show how bad Quinn Trisha was. I think just there's a motivation mindset. It's a new mindset. I think it's going to work a little bit for them, but again, I still think they'll probably be 4-12, which still gets them like a top 5 pick. So I'm not going to be mad about that. But
right, but they're losing Stafford like that.
I don't know if Goff is Goff is going to be serviceable enough to get him 3-4 wins for sure.
True, but still, like Matt Stafford was only serviceable enough to get him 5.
True.
With injuries.
Yeah, true, but. I mean, yeah. Did you see his interview with ESPN and he talked about all his injuries? And
I think I screenshot and sent it to you.
Yeah,
but it was
he was hurt in every quadrant of his body.
Yeah, and the dude's the toughest guy in the NFL. But
I think I could see it shaking out exactly the same way it did this year, though. This division.
I think the Vikings will be better than the Bears. I think it's probably Packers, Vikings, Bears, Lions.
Vikings should be. Now, if the Vikings get Wentz and he has a little bit of not the Vikings, the Bears get Wentz and he's a little bit of a revival, they might be the second best team in the division because I can see.
Can someone have a revival under Matt Nagy, though?
No, but
Khalil Mack maybe was a little bit better. But he was already good. He was already elite, though.
I could see them being pretty much the same, maybe a game better, but they're not going to win 10, 11 games. They might make it squeak into the playoffs again. Them or the Vikings, I could see that.
Allen Robinson was also technically a revival.
And I think one thing that we've said with all of the NFC divisions is like there's the top team and then everyone else beats each other up. And that's that's how the Bears got in at 8-8. Is because there were like the top 1, maybe 2 teams in each division, and then everyone else just beat each other up. So an 8-8 team got it.
Sure.
All right, AFC South. I'm looking at this right now. It's probably going to be. The Texans and the Jaguars. I still think are going to be both like 4-12 or worse, though. I think Trevor Lawrence probably goes to the Jaguars, but I think it's still going to be the rookie problems like the Bengals had, where it's going to be 4-12, 5-11, no matter how good Lawrence is.
Yeah, I'd flip them in position, though. I think the Texans move on, obviously from J.J. Watt, which is the stupidest story in the world. But I think they move on from Watson this offseason too, and they go just, I think, the worse. I think they have two, maybe 3 wins.
Well, they have to. If they move on, like, they have to. Like, that's not – there's no other real choice at this point. You just got to blow the whole thing up. I think the Titans are definitely the best team in this division again. I guess the Colts are right there with them. But the Colts are a weird team to me. I don't –
Defense is good, though, again.
Defense is really good. Offense just isn't good enough, and they were probably handcuffed by Phillip Rivers in some ways. So we'll see what happens there. But I could see them going maybe 9-7, maybe 10-6 to tops.
I think 10-6.
Yeah. I like 9-7 or 10-6. The Titans could be a game 11-5 or a game maybe 12-4.
12-4. Yeah.
And the other two teams are just going to be horrendous. I mean, Jaguars are going to be terrible. I'm not sold on Urban Meyer necessarily. We'll see. But I'm really not sold on him yet. We got to see what happens there. And then the Texans should blow it up. I mean, it's a complete disaster. I mean, we talk about the Eagles being a disaster. This is worse. So it's time to just blow the whole thing up, start over, and see what happens 5 years from now.
How about Urban Meyer up to his old tricks hiring Chris Doyle?
Yeah, and then not hiring. and then like, what are we doing there? Like, how could you ever think that was going to go over well with anybody?
If there's any coach in any sport I want to be a judge of character, my top 2 picks, Rick Pitino and Urban Meyer.
Urban Meyer. Like, what in the world are we doing? Like, they said that, and I was like, they're like, Urban Meyer hires Chris Doyle, and I'm like, how could you ever think that was the first hire? Like, first,
it was like, never mind.
Yeah, and they were like, and they said that like he's a good judge of character. It's like, what are you talking about?
What do you mean? Like, that's what they said. They're like, oh, Urban Meyer vetted him like completely. Like, what are you talking about? Like, vetted him completely. If you would have had to read like any news story from the past 2 years about that guy and been like, maybe not.
Yeah, probably not.
I don't care how good he is at his job. It doesn't matter. So
AFC East.
Yeah. I think it's Buffalo again for sure.
Buffalo, yeah. And I think they run away with it.
Yeah, I don't see Tua still being like it works better with Ryan Fitzpatrick, and I just think Tua's not actually. I don't think he's a chosen one. I think they fall back. I think Miami might go like 8-8. I think the Patriots might come up a little bit at 8-8. I don't know why they like. The problem is Bill Belichick doesn't want a top 5 pick. Like that would damage his legacy. And I think the Jets.
Yeah.
The Jets still have so many other positions that need to be filled, unless Deshaun Watson goes to New York Jets, which that's some talk. Same with Miami.
My thing, though, if he goes to the Jets, I still think at best they're a 5-11 football team. I really don't. He accounts for 4.
Again, yeah, like I said, there's so many holes.
3 more wins on that team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if he doesn't, and they ride Sam Darnold for another year, they're looking at another 3-13, 2-14, maybe 4-12.
If Sam Darnold is the starter, they are not any better. Like, I don't care, because that means they didn't use their top pick. They used it probably on like Penei Sewell and like
wide receiver.
Yeah, but still, like you have a freaking caveman throwing the ball to the wide receiver. So, I don't see a reality where Bill Belichick has 2 back-to-back losing seasons. So I'm going to say that the Patriots are better. They need to figure quarterback out, which I think it's clear that they're not sticking with Cam Newton.
Yeah.
But they have to figure.
They can't do Jarrett Stidham either. They tried Jarrett Stidham for a bit this year. It's right. And if they do try Jarrett Stidham just for the year to just be like, all right, we gotta see if he's for sure our guy. This is a last ditch effort. I think they're worse.
There's no way they do that. I think they've given Stidham every opportunity to show them something. And he has done nothing but prove he's worse than Brian Hoyer was. So I don't see how they do that. They're definitely going to be in the market for, either draft or I don't know. They're going to.
They have to do something.
The other option is Deshaun Watson's probably landing still in this division. Does he go to New York or Miami. That's kind of been the talk. If he goes to Miami, does that
good.
put them in competition with the
Oh,
Bills
yeah.
or close
Oh,
competition?
for sure.
Yes.
Yes.
Because I think that's a huge missing piece for Miami.
I still think I would still pick the Bills to win that division.
Me too. Yeah.
I just think they're a little more complete. Josh Allen should continue to get better and refine some of those tweaks in his game. They should upgrade the offensive line in free agency. But yeah, it makes it an arms race between them two.
Well, and I think at that point you're looking at Miami as a wild card team and a team that can certainly make some noise, because
that's got to be their missing piece. That's huge. I looked at when I was doing mock drafts, I'm looking at team needs. It gives the list of positions. I'm but they're really not that bad at this position. So quarterback is what's got to get the offense humming. And
unless they really think that Tua is the guy. But again, you're still, even if Tua is is going to become a good quarterback in the NFL, you're still going to be waiting 2, maybe even 3 more years for that guy because he's just now getting healthy enough. With that hip thing. This past year was the first year that he could really play again, So, it's just not – no. I don't like it.
All right, well, let's go to the AFC North, the other division that the NFC North has to play. It's going to be another tough division.
I think the Steelers get worse. It's still –
significantly.
It's still a little up in the air whether Big Ben retires. I think he should, but who knows? He's kind of dumb, so he might not. But I just don't think they go – what did they go on? An 11 – they were 11-0. I don't think that happens again in the slightest. So I think it'll be a battle between, honestly, the Ravens and the Browns to win the division. I would pick the Ravens in that just because they play a more annoying brand of football.
That's figured out. I think that's true. They're figured out.
I don't know, though, man.
Well, Joel, maybe you're convincing me. Let's go with the Browns at top of the division. Then the Ravens and the Steelers. And I think the Bengals – with a full season of Joe Burrow, I actually do think they get a little better. Little bit.
So I think the only
7 wins.
I would pick the only team to get worse in this division is going to be the Steelers. I don't know if it reflects in record though for the Bengals if they're better, because it sucks to be the Bengals right now because you have all these holes, and you've got a QB coming off of injury. And you're in a really good division, because I think the Steelers are still going to be good. They have a good defense. They're going to get Devin Bush back. They're going to get, they're going to be good, regardless of who their quarterback is. They're going to have some things that they can do. I think Roethlisberger probably plays another year, and he's probably fine. They still have weapons, and I think the Ravens are probably pretty much the same team. Good on defense. Lamar's going to be able to be really good against some teams, not as good against other teams. The Browns are weird though to me. They have to get better on defense. They have to. There's no.
They hung in there with the Chiefs offense.
They hung in there with the Chiefs, absolutely, and they've got a good pass rush, and they have some things that they have going for them on defense, but they get in too many shootouts, and it's just. And I know that division's tough. The Steelers could put up some points this past year, and I get some of that, but it's you have to be able to give your offense a little bit better shot. And I think Baker kind of proved himself this past year, so I don't know. They're definitely going to hang on to some of those weapons. The question is, what do they do with Odell? There's talks of trading Odell as well.
Again? Wow.
Yeah. So there's talks of that.
I don't think. You don't.
I don't. I wouldn't. But if they decide to do that, does that mean they get some more picks or I don't know. So we'll see what happens there.
Assuming the Browns keep Odell, I'm going to say Browns come away with this one 12-4. I think the Steelers go down to 10-6, and I think the Ravens are also 10-6, and I think the Bengals go to 6-10.
I can see the Bengals being the exact same record, yet being a better football team. I could really see that.
Well, I don't think they'll go 4-11-1 again. But
maybe not 4-11-1, but 5-11.
Yeah, that's. I kind of figured 6-10 was a slight improvement, but
yeah. All right.
I think it's going to be a battle of second place between the Steelers and Ravens. Still a very strong division, and it sucks that, as a Lions fan, they got to play the NFC West and the AFC North. Those are tough divisions.
Yep.
But so be it. Let's finish it out here with the AFC West, and then we'll get to the Lions draft board.
I think the Chiefs are going to win it again
Easily.
I don't. Yeah, pretty much easily, but I don't think they're going to be 14-2.
Probably 12-4. Yeah, probably 12-4.
Yeah, maybe 12-4 at best.
13-3.
Yeah. I think the Raiders are going to sneak up and maybe not challenge Chiefs by any means, but I think they're going to be similar at best 9-7. The Chargers are the team that's going to be on the come up in this division. I think Herbert's special at QB, so I could see them jumping up to like a 10-6 record and really challenge the Chiefs at least. That defense obviously needs improvement. But I really think that they're going to be the next team in that division. But I could see a 12-4 type season out of the Chiefs. I think they clearly will be the best team. But I don't know. I think some teams are starting to figure a few things out with that.
Yeah, they might copy like what happened with the Rams and the Patriots. Some teams might copy.
I think some things might get figured out. It's hard to really match that speed that they have. I think if we're going to go to the bottom, the Broncos are going to be terrible.
I don't know how they get out of that basement. I think they're for sure in the basement.
I mean, if you look at all these teams, go ahead.
I think the Broncos are my pick for the number 1 overall pick next year. I think they are going to be. It's due time that they are the laughing stock of the NFL. Really, I just think they are. I think they, unless they draft a quarterback and he's because they're looking at Zach Wilson, Trey Lance probably as their best case scenario. Unless one of those two dudes comes out and just sets the world on fire, the Broncos go 2-12, maybe 1-15. I would not be surprised in the slightest. I know you still have a serviceable defense. You have Von Miller, but again, with what I was saying earlier, trade Von Miller, do it. Get a first-round pick for Von Miller. There is a contending team who wants that so badly.
Yep.
Blow it up.
Yeah, I think – I just don't – you look at that division, there's no way they get out of the basement. The Raiders, they're solid. The Raiders were probably better than 8-8 in all actuality. They just had some –
They just fell apart at the end.
Ridiculously stupid coaching decisions.
I don't like them.
And just terrible play at certain times by certain guys. I like Derek Carr. I like some of those things on that offense, and the Chargers are going to be good. I think give them maybe 1-2 more years, and they're going to be a good team. And obviously the Chiefs. I mean, they're the Chiefs. We can talk about it some other time, but I think they're going to push for another Super Bowl. So
yeah. I mean, and we were going to talk about maybe our championship predictions, but until they show me otherwise, Kansas City is still the leader in the AFC. Until something happens and something drastic changes my mind. It's like Tom Brady. Until Tom Brady shows that he's falling off a cliff, I'm not going to assume it's going to happen next season.
Right, and I think
same thing with the Chiefs.
The only team that could push is again the Bills. I was
going to say the Bills. Yeah, the
Bills.
Bills.
I could see Miami making some weird, crazy push if they get Deshaun Watson. But other than that, I don't see any team having a chance, and I really do think Kansas City's better than any of those teams, even the Bills.
Yeah.
So, and I think in the NFC it's kind of the same. I mean, Tampa Bay, I look at that team and I thought about it. I thought it before the year too, this past year, but they're better than every team on paper, and it's not even that close. I don't think. I mean, Green Bay might be able to push them just because they have Aaron Rodgers, but
Rams.
I was gonna say the Rams are jumping out a little bit.
I think if I'm looking at
the Rams gotta prove it to me. The Rams has to prove it, and I'm not saying I do believe in Matthew Stafford, I 100% do, but the Rams do need to prove to me that they're elite now. Because if you're talking about them in that,
I think they are. I think they are. I just see how close they were with John freaking Wolford. And now you get Matthew Stafford, who is a top 8 QB in the NFL.
Yeah, but to me, Stafford's got to prove to me that he can play 16 games plus playoffs. I mean, I'm not saying that he can't, but he's always beat up.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
If he's healthy, though, I don't see how he's not.
Yeah.
I think so. If I'm looking at NFC Championship, AFC Championship, I'm going Tampa Bay versus the Rams. In my NFC Championship, would not be if the Rams won that. And then I'm going Chiefs and then Bills again in the AFC Championship. Super Bowl, Rams, Chiefs win.
I it's interesting. I did at first kind of almost scoff in my head though when you said the Rams beat the Bucks. But I'm like, I know, how hard it is to go back to back. The Bucks have a really good team, but like, if there's any defense that can like kind of figure that out and shut it down, if the Rams even get a little bit better or stay the same, like I still feel like they have a really good chance. And if Stafford has to be healthy throughout the entire season,
right? But that defense is just like if Stafford's healthy and playing at just like he doesn't even have to play
man.
And I don't think Stafford even needs to play to get to the championship. I don't think he needs to play the best he's ever played. Like that defense is insane. Like they almost got to the NFC championship just because of that defense.
Yeah.
So you put in
Cam Akers, now he's got a run game and a defense. The first time Stafford's had both of those is like a Cam Akers running game. I think Cam Akers is going to turn into like, how we talked about. There's only like 4 or 5 running backs in this NFL that are like workhorses. I think Cam Akers is going to pull away as a workhorse next year.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, he was already getting like 20 carries and 20 to 25, 30 carries in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I'm going to say I kind of agree. I tend to agree the Bucks, Rams, and then I think Bills, Chiefs, and then mark me down for I think the Bucks go, but I think that do I want to push the Bills? Because I don't think the Chiefs go back again, man. I'm
gonna go Bucks Chiefs rematch, and I think the Bucks win again. I really do. I think they're that much better. I think it's hard to repeat though.
It's hard to rematch. Like that's unprecedented.
Crazy hard to rematch, but it's hard, and it's yeah. I don't know.
In the NFL, every other sport does it every other year.
Someone's got to call. I'm gonna pick a weird Super Bowl that does not seem super exciting when I first say it, but I'm gonna say Bills and Rams, and I'll go.
I could see it.
Let the Bills get their first Super Bowl win after their drought of like 4 Super Bowl losses.
Yeah. Okay.
I could see it.
I could see it. I mean, I really could see it. I just don't know if the Bills have enough weapons to surround Allen with yet.
Right.
So.
All right. Well, what do you guys think for a quick MVP next year? And maybe, I mean, I don't want to do offensive rookie of the years until we know all that stuff. But let's do MVP and defensive player of the year and coach of the year.
I'm gonna double down on what I picked last year. If he gets traded, my MVP pick is Deshaun Watson. If he gets traded. If he stays in Texans, no way. But if he goes to a good team, if he goes to a Miami or like a team that was like borderline competitive this year, and he's a pick for MVP for me. And then defensive player of the year, Aaron Donald's not going to repeat. He's not going to get that many. So I'll go with Julian Aquara. No.
That's
TJ
Watt.
Yes.
TJ Watt, because why not?
I'm going to go with Devin White as defensive player of the year.
Ooh.
And then I'm going to go with I'm going to go with Patrick Mahomes, MVP.
All right. Give me Darius Leonard for defensive player of the year and Matthew Stafford for MVP.
See, I
laugh, but I'm like, if he stays healthy all year and they get to the Super Bowl,
think he's gonna do it.
And they get to the Super Bowl, man, I don't know.
I don't know.
So I have one more question just looking at next season. If you had to pick, because I like to do the coach hot seat, if you had to pick the coach who is sitting on the hottest seat come week 1, 2021, who is it? My pick is Matt Nagy because he's a buffoon.
Ooh.
Similar question to like, who do you think is the coach?
I say Vic Fangio, but especially because you said that they're going to have the number 1 overall pick. There's no way he like makes it through the season if they're going to pay us for the number 1 pick.
Yeah, I could see Nagy. I could see Fangio. How to seat week 1 though? Like right away.
Like, who do you think is the first coach to get fired, basically?
Cliff Kingsbury.
Vic Fangio. Yeah. I think he makes it to like week 6 if they have even if they have 1 win or 0 wins.
I think the only other coach we didn't name that's on a pretty hot seat is McCarthy.
Yeah.
If they get a healthy Dak and he sucks, like he's gone.
it's the leash that Jerry Jones seems to have.
I think he's gone though. I think they wanted to fire him this year.
Yeah, but it's hard to blame. It's hard to blame him for this one.
I actually think Cliff
Well, and that's
Kingsbury fired this year.
But that's what I mean with
during the season
with McCarthy. Like if Dak and that offensive line is healthy and they're just as bad, you have to fire your coach. You have to.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Well.